Hey there, everyone. It's Tawney Seren here with Peepshow Toys, and today I'm going to share with you two very personal masturbation stories. Masturbation is so incredibly healthy, and we've all had our own adventures with masturbation, whether it was starting at a really young age, whether it was starting when you thought that, everyone else already had and you were late to the game, whether it was discovering sex before you discovered masturbation with yourself. Whatever the case, we all have our stories, and they really can, kind of shape our sexual journey overall. So I am going to share with you a story of when I first discovered masturbation, and then a kind of fun story that really did shape sexuality for me, and my own comfort level when it came to playing with toys. So I started discovering masturbation when I was going through puberty, like the majority of us do, and I was starting to kind of dive into looking at porn for the first time. And that was when I really, really wanted something to play with, and I'd heard of vibrators, I had heard of things like that, but I came from a family that was, I had a father who's incredibly Christian, and the idea of approaching him with any sort of question like that would have been just, it was too much for my mind to handle. And then I had a mother who was a little bit more free spirited. There was a lot of comfort there, but I hadn't exactly had that sort of conversation with her before. So I remember I pumped myself up. I was getting ready, and I went in and I had the conversation with her, and she was silent the entire time. And I remember just going, oh my gosh, I've gone too far. Telling her I want to get a vibrator, telling her that I'm like discovering porn is like, that's too much, it's too much information. And she turned around and she was on her computer, and I remember thinking, she's completely zoned out. Like, she's not even having this conversation with me right now. She's checking out. She's looking up, military schools to send me to. And then when she turned around, she had brought up, at the time, it was the Pipe Dreams Mini Mite, which they don't sell anymore, thank goodness. It's a very porous, old, cheap vibrator, but boy, was it amazing. And she ordered it on Amazon for me, and at that point, she gave me a list of sites that she was like, you can't go outside of this, don't crap up the computers, whatever the case may be. She gave me those rules and set me off on the journey. And when I had never myself had an orgasm, I remember exploring and just being mind blown about how much pleasure that I could have outside of fingers that I didn't know how to use, especially when I was watching porn. So from a very young age, I had toys and I enjoyed them. But the main masturbation story I'd like to share with you, I was 19, I was living with a roommate, and she was very sexually active, and I was not that sexually active. Like, I was always in kind of long-term relationships that, kind of fizzled out sexually even at a young age, and she was in the dating scene, and always bringing home people. And so I remember she went out to go pick up somebody, and I had the house to myself. And at this point, I had been introduced to the original Hitachi magic wand. This is back when it was, when it had Hitachi on it, right? And I remember being like, okay, this is kind of loud. Like, I'm going to use it now that she's gone. It's going to be great. And I had never used it before, and I relaxed. And I don't know what possessed me to start it on high, but the exorcism effect, that I rolled from one orgasm into another until my legs were shaking and I felt dizzy and dehydrated, and I was like, that's it, like, I need to go get something to eat. And I left the room. Lo and behold, she is there with her date for who knows how long in the living room. And they both look at me and, very polite, like, hello, nobody gets up to shake my hand or say hello, aside from the little waves from there. And I knew that they knew what I had just done during that wonderful, easily could have been 30, 45 minutes of numb, vibrating power that I had in there, speaking tongues, and they were right in that same room. And I grabbed my snacks, I went, hey, and I went into the room. I decided no shame. She even asked me about it afterwards, and I was like, yeah, I absolutely was locked in there playing. And, for me, I understand that these are kind of fun, vague stories about masturbation and just in general, but for me, the power to be able to have that conversation with my mother and then to be able to own that I was caught, and not have to have that shame behind it, that was really a turning point for me, because I could have chosen to be, ashamed of masturbation in general, but both of those situations for me, first time trying my favorite toy, and then the first time, having the conversation with my mom, those were ways where I kind of decided that I was not going to be ashamed about masturbating, and that, you might as well own it, you might as well have fun with it. It's healthy, it's great, it's mind-blowing. And from that moment on, I was very honest about playing in general, whether it was in relationships that I was in and where people would ask me. And I really, really have found so much benefit in playing and the exploration that I've had with it overall. So I want to hear what your masturbation stories are, whether it's getting caught, whether it's, strange toys that you've explored. We all have them. Again, masturbation is healthy. It's nothing to be ashamed of, and we all certainly have had our fun adventures while playing. So thank you all so much for coming and listening to my masturbation stories. Get to playing, create some of your own. Thank you again so much, and I'm here with Peepshow Toys, hoping to chat with you again very soon. Bye, everybody.